Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and today we're going to tell you all about WWE cutting 3 backstage staff members yesterday and talk that more cuts might be on the way. And on top of that, we're going to tell you when exactly next week's episode of AEW Dynamite is going to air.
Plus pay cuts in WWE courtesy of the ongoing global bastard, and what Finn Balor really thinks about returning to NXT. This is the news.
Let's begin with the unfortunate news. Gerald Briscoe, Sarah Stock and Mike Rotunda have been let go by WWE. These stories all broke yesterday. Gerald Briscoe broke the first one himself on Twitter. He said he received a call from Vince McMahon to let him know that after 36 years of service, he was no longer needed. He said he's okay with this, he will still be around to help the talent, and he'll have more info. He then followed up with another tweet saying that, basically thanking everyone for their support and saying that he needed a little space to process everything before committing to interviews and stuff. He has no anger, just emotions following his release. Briscoe, of course, had been with WWE since 1984. You might know him as a tag team wrestling legend. You might know him as one of Vince McMahon's stooges, or you might know him for his work in recent decades as a road agent, a talent scout, what's the word I'm looking for? A signer, man who signs recruiter. That's the word. Sarah Stock and Mike Rotunda are the other people to go. Sarah Stock had been with WWE since 2015. She worked in the Performance Center as a trainer and a producer. Mike Rotunda is, of course, the former IRS. He's the father of Bray Wyatt. Recently, his last WWE run commenced in 2006. He was a road agent. These people are gone. All 3 of them were furloughed as part of what went on in April. Covered that extensively at the time. PW Insider have come through with a report stating that several sources within the company have indicated that these releases are part of another round of wider financial cutbacks, presumably as a result of what's currently going on around the world, or that's WWE's excuse for it. The write-up notes that they are seeking clarification on whether or not more names will be let go by the promotion. So, worrying times here. Hate to see anybody lose their job, but particularly someone like Gerald Briscoe, who's been with WWE since the dawn of time. Fingers crossed that all these people are able to land on their feet.
Yeah, I saw a pamphlet saying that AEW could well benefit from picking up some of these names that have been released. It's such a legend, obviously. And Mike Rotunda, we should mention as well. It's interesting to see how WWE is attempting to sort of handle all this, because by all accounts they don't really need to do this. Like, I'm sure that the money is not quite what it used to be, but they have reserves upon reserves of, we've talked a million times about WWE future-proofing themselves, and I get it, everyone is having to make sacrifices due to the ongoing global bastard, but it always feels like when you see these sorts of names get mentioned, it's too far. What do you reckon, Andy?
Yeah, well, the thing about WWE is, I think that takes a little bit too gentle. They don't need to make sacrifices. They are still forecast to make record-breaking profits in 2020. So, from a financial standpoint, I don't really think they have much of a defence here. They've just splashed out all this money on the Thunderdome for a 4 weeks ratings boost. Raw was pretty much back to normal this week, albeit with increased competition and stuff. We went in on this deep at the time in April, and we're, not going to soapbox this for another 10 minutes like we did back then. But to me, man, these things are pretty indefensible.
Yeah, it's putting fancy lighting and fireworks around a show that is inherently flawed and needs changing. Moving around deck chairs on the Titanic. That's what they're doing. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the developments from this, because also as a result of the ongoing global bastard, according to Fightful Select, staff members have been taking pay cuts as the promotion continues trimming its budget. Some salaries have, quote, been decreased by tens of thousands of dollars for wrestlers and people working behind the scenes. As we sort of alluded to, WWE quietly letting go quite a lot of people, not just the ones we've mentioned, who were furloughed back in April. And this has sort of created a situation where jobs that have usually been handled by groups of people are now being just taken on by 1 or 2 independent contractors. Things are very stretched up, allegedly, behind the scenes in WWE, and they are apparently recruiting several understudies to cover people should they fall ill and then therefore be unable to work for a large period of time. Sounds like a bloody shambles, this, Andy.
Yeah, it sucks. And, rather than editorializing this, because the points would be largely the same, let's just point out how grossly underpaid WWE wrestlers are in the first place. 8% of WWE's revenue approximately goes into salaries, right? Okay. It means nothing on its own, right? But the UFC, whose fighters are grossly underpaid as well, are still paying 20% of revenue to salaries.
And they're stopping them from doing any third-party stuff now. So.
Exactly. And other professional sports leagues, the NBA, the NFL, are contributing roughly 50% of revenue to salaries. So you can sit here and go, oh, these groups make more money than WWE or whatever. Doesn't matter. It's a percentage. Yeah. 8% versus 50%. Here we go. Come on. Let's move over to something a bit more positive, I think. So the bit of confusion as to when exactly next week's episode of AEW Dynamite will be airing. We heard previously it's going to be on Thursday. It's going to be a 1-hour show on Wednesday as well. This week on Dynamite, the announcers kind of gave a confusing breakdown of what was happening. It was like, it might be on Wednesday or it might be on Thursday. NBA. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio has come through with some clarification here, saying that basically we will find out for sure on Monday. It all depends on whether or not an NBA playoff game between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Houston Rockets goes to a Game 7. Game 6 is on Monday. If it goes to a Game 7, Dynamite will go down on Thursday. If it doesn't go to Game 7, it'll be on its usual time slot on Wednesday. Now, here's where it gets more complicated. The 1-hour special episode of Dynamite that was originally planned to go down on Wednesday was taped yesterday. If Dynamite has to air on Thursday... if Dynamite airs on Wednesday as normal, this episode will go down on Tuesday, the week after. So, it's all very confusing. But as we're going to talk about in our next news video, which will be uploaded within a few hours with the ratings and so forth, AEW has done tremendously well unopposed. So, hopefully the numbers will be good. But this is confusing.
I am desperate to know what they say on that. Hey, what about that basketball game, huh? What a basket that was at the end.
What a hoop.
What a bloody shot. Like, I realise this is completely out of AEW's hands. Like, we will know by the start of next week, and I'm sure they are going to flood social media with every single one of their roster, constantly reminding people, we're back on Wednesdays, or not back on Wednesday, but there will be a 1-hour thing, and we'll see on the Thursday. Personally, I'd love it to go down on the Thursday, so I hope the Monstars, or whatever they're called, win the hoops. I have no idea. The books are out, I don't care anymore. But, go Giannis. Because I want it to go down on Thursday just for my sleep schedule, to be perfectly honest. But it's a mess, this, and I just loved it on Dynamite, and they were like, see you next week on Wednesday or maybe Thursday. Thanks for watching, guys. So yeah, we won't know basically until the start of next week. But I mean, this is the best they can do. But
yeah. It's
just a bloody shambles, this. Crossing from AEW Dynamite to NXT, and Finn Balor has been talking to Metro UK all about his move back to the gold and black brand, and of course his return as NXT champion. He now calls the move back to NXT definitely the right move, as you would if you had a strap on your shoulder you haven't had for 5 years. He said, I think a lot of people questioned my reason or logic behind it. For me, I want to challenge myself every night in the ring, and I felt like on Raw and SmackDown I'd put it into cruise control and was just coasting along. I wanted a fresh challenge against fresh faces, people I wasn't used to wrestling with, and he said that all the new match possibilities in NXT, quote, reignited that spark for me, and that he felt a little burnt out after his main roster run. Generally all the stuff we would have assumed, but great to see he's really enjoying himself back in NXT, and completely the right move for everyone involved, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's flourishing, he's flying, he's the champion again, he's back home, back on the brand that he helped make famous. Probably got a lot more creative freedom. I imagine it's probably a lot more creatively fulfilling for Finn Balor to be on NXT. Cynics would have looked at the move and go, oh, he's gone from a show that has 2 million viewers to one that has 800,000 or whatever. But, it's not all about that sometimes. Particularly when you're a man like Finn Balor, the veteran of the business who's done so many things, so many great things across so many promotions. probably just having a blast, man. And hey, he's the NXT champion. He's the prince of the brand. It's all going well for him.
No, exactly. Congratulations to him, and right decision by WWE. We should give him credit where it's due. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Mark Solid, who says, "Morning legends, thoughts on Roman Reigns forming a stable to protect his title and Heyman? It could be a new evolution with Reigns as Triple H and Heyman as Flair. Thoughts on potential members for a Reigns stable?"
I'm only up for this if Paul Heyman starts wearing a Ric Flair robe to the ring and starts wooing. That'd be something else. Yeah, I'd be up for this, man. I think it's a good idea. Like, the natural thing I would have gone to immediately would be the Usos, but obviously, Jimmy's off TV, Jay's challenging for the title. That match is going to be awesome, by the way. That's going to rule. It looks like they're being set up as rivals at the moment, which is another interesting direction, but I would totally be up for this. I like Roman, wreck everything and leave Roman. I think it's been very well played so far, and I think having a gang of dudes you have to get through to get to the king would be a good shout indeed.
Absolutely, and talking about putting his arm around people and trying to develop them as Triple H did with Batista and Orton. Imagine if you had Chad Gable in there to eventually challenge him or something. I think that'd be fantastic. But let us know who you'd like to see in this Reigns stable in the comments section below. We'll move on to the second question today. Comes from Silverblade, who says, "Hey guys, what's one past their prime wrestler you want to see have one last or first title run? For me, it's got to be Dustin Rhodes, especially after Dynamite this week. What a match he had with Brody Lee. Yeah, he's been so good for AEW."
Yeah, Dustin Rhodes is one of my all-time favourite wrestlers, and that would have been my answer. That would have been my honest answer. So because my honest answer has already been covered, let me be a fanny and say that I want to see Goldberg come back and beat Finn Balor for the NXT Championship in 10 seconds. Eat that. Twitter will love that, I'm sure.
You bastard. I'm just going to go with my stock answer that me and Phil say for everything like this. Scotty Too Hotty.
There we go.
Scotty Too Hotty. Another tag title run. Of course, he can't do it with the late Brian Christopher, but I'm sure we could get a replacement in there. And Rikishi's still knocking about. I still love him. One of my bucket list things is seeing the Worm in person, which is, each to their own, I suppose. But yeah, let us know which past their prime wrestler you'd like to see have one last or first title run in the comments. And we'll move on to the final question from Antonio Pizza.
Legend.
Who says, "Howdy, gents. The Kabuki Warriors, Sasha and Bailey, the Iconics, Fire and Desire, Alexa and Nikki, soon. In just under 2 months, WWE has dissolved almost every female tag team but the Riot Squad. Are they planning to shelve the belts and the division?" That's not true, Antonio. They've made the odd couple of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. How are they going to get along?
Yeah, man, I hadn't even thought of it in those terms. There's been so much going on, but you're dead right. They've cut all these good women's tag teams. I think that shelving the belts might be a distinct possibility. Who's your mainline team now? Who's your top marketable team? It was, we've had the Kabuki Warriors in that kind of role. We've had Bailey and Sasha, obviously. I don't see what the hell you do from here without shelving it. They're either going to have to establish a bunch of new tag teams straight away. You could probably call up Rhea Ripley and Shotzi Blackheart. They only had one match. It's better than nothing. But yes, you're dead right. I do have the fear that they'll get rid of those belts. The belts haven't had the best run, but I still like having them around. Oh, here we go.
They were doing great up until a certain point.
Don't say it.
I mean, again, I still don't know why you had to break them up, Billy and Peyton, but okay, fine, not bothered. Yeah, I don't know what on earth they're doing. I think they're going to unify the men's tag titles, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to happen. That's the Ethnic Clash of Champions. So maybe they're just going to do that again, but with the men's and women's, just bollocks, just throw them all together. Let's move on to today's and finally, and credit where credit is due, not to step on our toes for our news story a little bit later on, but Michael Hamflet, in our bold predictions for WWE in 2020 video, called it. He said it is only a matter of time before Wednesdays outdraw Monday Night Raw. And although it's slightly cheating, I'm going to allow it with the combined figures of AEW and NXT this week, outdrawing Raw's 1.725 million. So I'd like to say, personally, from me to Michael Hamflett, welcome to the predictions party, pal. Not many of us get to sit in this sphere where we just get everything right and are never wrong. But, you know, yours things is kind of geeky numbers. Mine is calling things when we all know it's a work. So congratulations to you, Michael Hamflett. Thoughts, Andy?
Yep. Cool.
Just like to say congratulations to Agent Ambrose on another successful title defense. All that.
Let's wrap it up. Come on.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and Michael Sidgwick looking ahead to tonight's episode of SmackDown. And of course, Wrestle Culture with a hashtag Bloody Good quiz later on today. You can continue the conversation and let us know your Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. While you're there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Happy Birthday, Paul Heyman.
Ooh, happy birthday, Paul. You can follow me at Adam Wilmore. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.